Why the West hates China. Vocabulary wars. Shanghai. Many Western observers remain blissfully ignorant about the Chinese language and refuse to adopt Chinese terminologies into their China reports. They instead describe and interpret Chinese culture on the back of their own Western taxonomies and concepts, as if the West was the end of history. You don't believe it? Read the recent The New York Times article, A Confucian Constitution for China, by Confucian philosopher Daniel A. Bell. It's about China, but it doesn't include a single piece of Chinese terminology, as if the New York Times ordered Professor Bell to keep his China text Anglo-Saxon, clean and unpolluted. He's not alone. You may not be aware of this, but powerhouses like Germany prefers its China experts to be ethical German and its China textbooks written in clean German diction. As if the Chinese people, their lexicon and their social-cultural originality did not serve any purpose at all in the history of humanity. The Germans call it China Bild or China Image, but it really is this, a China without Chinese. The Germans would doubt for a moment the fact that the German language was essential to understanding their own culture. Yet, for foreign cultures, it's exactly the opposite. As far as the German media and academia are concerned, foreign cultures precisely cannot be understood unless translated into familiar dictum. And it gets worse. We know that the billions of East Asians in the world throughout history were thinking and giving names to their inventions all the time. Why is it that European countries, which barely hold 0.8 to 1.2% of the world's populations each, are blending out all of that Oriental originality? What is wrong, for example, with Europe adopting Chinese concepts like Ru, Wenming and Junzi, or Hindu concepts like dharma, karma and prajna? Why do Europeans fearfully gatekeep their cultures from an inflow of Eastern originality? Some commentators have argued with me that the West is full as in no more capacity to learn. It is true that exotic Chinese concepts like kungfu, yin and yang, fengshui and Tao have already made Western historians, who still suffer from self-importance due to a history of colonialism, feel very and insecure. How to westernize so many Asians who still have, after hundreds of years of Western indoctrination, so many non-Western ideas in their heads. Meanwhile, Hindi concepts such as Atman, Avatar, Yoga, Nirvana and Pandit make the United States look less Christian by the day. But wasn't Christianity supposed to be superior to all? There are tens of thousands of Eastern concepts that are censored out of the Western system just to keep the illusion of a universal Judeo-Christian manifest destiny alive. Germany is a case in point, where the ruling class controls the general public to live in an artificial German world, except for English loanwords, which are forced upon the Germans for historical reasons, and demand all immigrations to express knowledge solely in the form of German language.
Wir haben gesagt, die werden schon nicht bleiben, irgendwann werden sie weg sein, das ist nicht die Realität. Und natürlich war der Ansatz zu sagen, jetzt machen wir hier mal Multikulti und leben so nebeneinander her und freuen uns übereinander, dieser Ansatz ist gescheitert. Absolut gescheitert.
By that, the German dictionary becomes a tool for national coercion and subjugation, idea theft and thought plagiarism. Although not written in its preamble, the dictionary effectively tells its users, use the words in this book to make any idea and thought ours.
Wir als Union treten für die deutsche Leitkultur und gegen Multikulti ein. Multikulti ist tot. Multikulti ist tot. Multikulti ist tot. Multikulti ist tot. Multikulti ist tot.
There isn't a Deutsche school in the world that does not teach its pupils how to shun foreign words. Knowledge in Germany exists only if it's known in German. As a result, German scholars, submerged in clean German culture, are destined to misappropriate China's history, etymologies, experiences, ideas and originality, and, most importantly, they will intuitively omit, and who is to punish them for it, the correct Chinese names of decisively non-German concepts and hide them from the German public. German China scholarship behaves like an organized syndicate, fighting off foreign gangs and protecting their language turf. Not a day passes in North America and European media in which politicians, feuilletonists and journalists do not lecture China on democracy and human rights, words that are, you may have considered this, Western vocabularies and therefore cannot exist in China. Tourists and imperialists do not come to be taught. They call things the way they call things at home. Most Western academics essentially dependent on their nation states, their state employees, frequently replace Chinese originality with Western biblical or philosophical translations, or choose Western words or simply annotate them with the shallow signifier Chinese, and thus present exactly the image of China they want to see, a place of zero originality. There are now Chinese religions, Chinese saints, Chinese gods, and Chinese universities all over the place. Yet you will find that what these scholars translated from, the words Jiao, Shengren, Shen, and Daxue, do not bear any historical or cultural resemblance to our Western terminologies. Confucius once said, if the names are not correct, speech is not in accordance with the truth of things. What we see in Western China studies is a fraud. It's absurd to talk about Chinese philosophers when 90% of the Chinese population have never heard or read such a term. They have Shengren in China. We may call 20th century and 21st century Western China studies the greatest intellectual property theft of all time. In world history, it should rank beside another Western cruelty, the evils of the Christian mission to convert the common Chinaman. We call our age the age of knowledge, yet ask the average American or European to name a single Chinese concept. The answer will be none. They will talk about Chinese religion, Chinese food, Chinese culture. They don't know a single correct word or taxonomy. Human nature is not like this. Nature has made people curious and inquisitive. The Western public would have loved to know what the Shengren was, if only the media had printed this word ever. I believe it is the nature of the nation states, the language policies and the self-serving education system that keep the Western public in the dark about foreign cultures. Human knowledge is a combined originality and inventiveness of the human race expressed in all its traditions and languages. But the truth is, some people would rather see your language die. Avoid foreign languages, it's a bad habit. Write in English.